Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Stacey YouTube channel. I'm Ben, and after the narrow defeat on Saturday, the Imps head over to Wales on Tuesday night to the Racecourse to take on Wrexham AFC. Obviously, probably fair to say they're the media darlings of League One this year, among a couple of others. But I'm joined by Rich from the Rob Ryan Red podcast. How you doing, mate? You keeping well?
I'm very well, thank you very much for having me. And yeah, we were just talking before we came on air how, I mean, Lincoln are one of the few teams I do remember Wrexham playing. We've been growing up watching us play non-league for so long, but I do remember playing Lincoln City in the non-league a few times.
Indeed, yes. It's the first game in, I think, 8 years that we'll have on Tuesday night. Obviously, rearranged game. I think we might see a few fewer City fans making the trip on a Tuesday night, sadly. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about Wrexham. We'll obviously steer clear of the obvious traits, the obvious tropes, shall we say? But yeah, I mean, obviously this season, I think there was probably quite a few expectations going into it from the fan base, at least, if not the higher ups. I mean, how did you see this season coming into it, and was it a genuine case of we can steamroll straight through the league, or was it a case of maybe temper expectations a little bit and see how you get on?
I think it's very easy now to get carried away and say we were always going to be going for promotion. But start of the season, I did the season preview for 4-4-2. They asked someone from every single club, and I think I had Wrexham down. I can't remember. It was either 9th or 10th. I still think finish around there. I think the league is very congested at the moment, and it's still quite sensational to say where you are, because after one game week, you could drop 5-6 places quite easily. And I still think that might happen for us. Not in this current crop of games, because we're at home and we've got a very good record. But I think most Wrexham fans expected us to be higher mid-table, because we've got momentum. And we've seen in the past, Lincoln have seen in the past, that, okay, I know we've got a big budget, but irrespective of that, if you've got momentum, you've just got that belief. And we go into every single game believing that we can win. And that, it's a cliche, but that is something that we've got that plenty of teams in the league don't have, because it's very difficult to build that momentum. And there's an argument now that this might be our best chance of ever getting promoted from League One, because we have got that winning belief. And, if we have a season where we don't go up, it's building that again might be more difficult. You've been there for a longer time, and it's hard to get going again. It's hard to believe those false dawns are finally going to come true. So I think right now, Wrexham fans will be saying quite confidently we should be around the playoffs. But like I said, start of the season, I think top half was the aim. The club are aiming for a third successive promotion, which sounds ridiculous. But I think most Wrexham fans were tempering expectations to a degree. I think we're still expecting to be better than most in this division.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a journey that is being well chronicled, and we can see how things are developing over the course of time as you sort of make your way up through the leagues. I mean, one of the standout questions I suppose to probably ask at the moment is it's probably fair to say your talisman isn't firing as much as he should be doing. Obviously, Paul Mullin is the name at the moment when it comes to Wrexham over the past couple of seasons. I mean, is it just a case of him adapting to the division? I know he obviously had a bit of a shaky start. I think if I remember rightly, he was injured at the start of the season as well. Is it just a case of him finding his feet, do you think? Or
I think
where does he sit?
I think there's two elements to it. There's always going to be the point that he's not really proving at League One level. And if you look at Paul Mullin for the last 3 seasons at Wrexham, he was too good for non-league for 2 seasons. He was too good for League Two for 1 season. League One is his level. He is now not the named striker in the league. He's just a striker in the league, and most teams have someone who's as good as him. So that's part of the issue. The issue is what we saw last season, where last season he went into the campaign, no pre-season after he had a burst lung. This season, he had spinal surgery, missed pre-season. So he's still playing catch-up. So there is mitigation for why he's not got up to speed yet. He's been trying a bit too hard in games. He's been fluffing his chances. Once he's a bit relaxed, and I still think once he's scored 1 or 2, then the goals will start to flow. But as he goes sort of searching a bit too hard for them, it just sort of snowballs the problem, and it gets bigger and bigger, and it becomes more of a story the longer it goes on. So I think the elements of it are like, one, he is just not found his level per se, but he's at a much tougher level now, and it's harder to get chances. Number two is the fact that he missed pre-season again. So I think that there's encouragement there for us. It's the fact that we're second in the league right now, and we still haven't got Paul Mullin effectively scoring
Yeah.
goals. So that's why there's even greater confidence that if he clicks, if he settles, then we will hopefully have a successful end to the season. The other factor is Jack Marriott, who is now injured for around 3 months left. He's been out for a month already. He'll be after he tripped over a sprinkler in training, which is still a very non-league injury. But last season he was surplus to requirements effectively. He just wasn't getting a sniff. Because Mullin missed pre-season, Marriott got his chance, and he was superb in the first few months of the season. He was excellent. So, from Paul Mullin's point of view, I still expect him to come good. I'd also point out that last season he finished our top goal scorer. I think he'd only scored 2 league goals at the same stage last season, and then they came in the second half of the campaign. So I do think things will click for him. I still expect Paul Mullin to get about 10 or 12 league goals, which is still not too shabby. But yeah, I think it's a combination of factors, really.
Okay. And then obviously we'll look at, a few results that have just come in. Very good result for you guys at home to Exeter at the weekend. You mentioned at the start there that there's a run of games for you at home. Is the Racecourse becoming a bit of a fortress, would you say, compared to, on the travels? I'm just quickly looking through the results here.
We've got the best home form, yeah.
I was going to say the 3 losses that you've had have been on the road. So, well, first off, was the performance as dominant as the results suggest yesterday, and how have you guys been playing at home?
Yeah, it was to get onto the Exeter game immediately. We just took the game by the scruff of the neck early on. We had a flurry of corners. I think we had 6 corners in the first 3 minutes. Just didn't allow them to settle. We scored really early on. Max Cleworth, who is arguably our best player. He goes under the radar so much, homegrown player. I genuinely think he is going to Championship, if not the Premier League at some point. He is so good, really assured at the back. I think he's our joint highest goal scorer this season. He's a young centre-back. He's got 6 goals, I think, or 5 goals in all comps. He's superb. He scored the first one. And we just didn't really allow Exeter to break. They did have a few false openings. I think they had 2 disallowed goals in the end, both due to the offside flags. Both of them looked quite dubious. But we're just very good at home. And that kind of is the point, that yesterday was arguably our most comfortable home performance of the season, but it was the type of performance we've been putting in for years and years and years. And if you look at our home record since Phil Parkinson's been at the club, each defeat you can basically name. They've been such seismic sort of losses. Like, you maybe lose 4 or 5 a season at home maximum, which was last season. So you remember them all, and they all kind of have mitigation to them. When we lost to Yeovil, we had 10 men for most of the match. When we lost to Grimsby, it was 5-4 in the playoffs. That was crazy. There's circumstance around all of them. We are just so good at home, and that's the crux of why we always sort of are near the top end of the tables, because we're so hard to beat at home and even to take points off. So again, I think it goes back to that first point, that we're just a winning machine at home. The players feel so comfortable there. They've so often come from behind to win. They've got through adverse circumstances. They've pulled off some reasonable scalps. I know drawing 3 Sheffield United might not have been the cup upset we wanted it to be, but games like that just give you confidence. In every single match at the Racecourse, you just feel something special can happen. So yeah, it's really difficult to maybe pinpoint why we're so good at home, but we were formidable. And Saturday against Exeter was probably the most impressive win potentially of the season for us so far, just because they went into it with the best defence in the league. We ended the game with the best defence in the league. 3 crosses, 3 headed goals, 3 points on the board. It was, quite easy in the end, which I think has now reevaluated our perception of the next few games, because Exeter, Lincoln, Barnsley at home looked 3 really tricky games. But this was just kind of a reminder of how good we are at home. And I don't think we'll get complacent when you visit or when Barnsley do. But, it is a huge, huge achievement for any team to come to the North Wales and get anything from a game at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when you look at the fixture list, and obviously you look at the positions of the teams that we've been playing, Exeter were a team that on paper, a lot of people thought, oh yeah, we should be beating them. But to come away with a draw, I think quite a lot of us felt that it was a decent enough point. Like you say, they had the best defence in the league going into that game last weekend. And then coming into these two games that we've got now, we've obviously played top of the table on Saturday. We've then got second in the table on Tuesday night. It's probably not the run that we would have ideally wanted. We've currently got a little bit of a potential shortage with regard to centre backs as well, which is a worrying sign. But so when you say that you're setting up and you've got that resilience at home, how is it that you're setting up at the moment? From what I can see, it looks like it's kind of a 5-3-2, 3-5-2 setup. Does that change game to game, or is it kind of nope, that's the way we play and away we go?
Yeah, I mean the biggest criticism of Phil Parkinson, believe it or not, that he has many, is that he's so stubborn and rigid in his 3-5-2. He will always say, "Look, there's an overemphasis on formation." I do think in football, us being sort of fans and the way you sort of play video games, you play Football Manager, we all focus on the formation, but it's 11 players with 10 outfield players with very different roles that change as the game goes in. In possession 3-5-2, out of possession sort of 4-3-3. It can change on the fly like that, but tactically, traditionally, it's a 3-5-2. You'll have Burton in goal because Okonkwo's out injured. He broke his wrist. Callum Burton, former Plymouth goalkeeper, he loved beating Exeter at the weekend. By the way, he's a very solid backup keeper. In defence, that changes sometimes, just personnel, but it's free. You'll have Max Cleworth on the right. Centrally, you'll either have Owen O'Connell or Dan Scarr, and on the left you have Lewis Brunt probably, or Tom O'Connor. Wing backs, they are the two sort of certainties. James McLean on the left, Ryan Barnett on the right. And Ryan Barnett is a player who's been looked at from Rangers have been looking at him, Blackburn, Stoke, they've Preston as well. He's just signed a new contract this week. He is a real top talent, proper old school winger for a wing back. Midfield, you know what you're getting there as well. Andy Cannon was suspended against Exeter. Ollie Rathbone came in. He was man of the match. Best performance in the Wrexham shirt so far. He was our record signing for a while in the summer before Mo Farl came in up front. So midfield will be George Dobson, formerly of Charlton. It will be Elliot Lee, and it will be Rathbone or Cannon. I'd expect Rathbone because he just got man of the match. It could be Andy Cannon. Up top, it's Ollie Palmer and someone else. Ollie Palmer is a very no-nonsense number 9, scores 5 or 6 goals a season, facilitates, the rest of the team. Usually he works alongside Mullin. Mullin's not been in the best form, so it'll either be John Doddy Badvardsen, who used to play for Bolton, or it'll be Mo Farl, who's not really got chances, but we signed in the summer. So it's a 3-5-2, and that's exactly how we'll play. We are very happy for you to have the ball. I'm not sure if it's the same now, but certainly until 2 weeks ago, we averaged the lowest possession of any team in League One. We let you have the ball. We're very happy for you to do that. And that's where we kind of are at our best. This season, I really do think we might finish with the best defensive record in the league because we've really shored up how we work off the ball. We've improved the quality of defenders. Most games I expect to be 1 goal either way. It depends if we've got that quality in the final third. But yeah, I expect Lincoln to have as much of the ball as they want. They'll have to try and break us down. And certainly when we were in League Two and non-league, we were the fastest team for transitions, getting the ball from back to front. That's what we prioritise. And Parky, although he gets criticism for being stubborn and maybe a bit tactically naive at times, it's just the most effective way to play football. And it's worked for us so far that he's never going to change that. So yeah, expect yourselves to have lots of the ball, maybe not lots of goals though, because we are so well drilled out of possession. We just know exactly what we want to do, and we hit teams really hard on the counter-attack.
So you know what? I think you've actually described how we've been playing football quite a lot this season as well. So I think if we have the kickoff, the ball will just be in the centre circle, and you'll be like, "No, you get it. Go on, you go for it."
It'd be like a Simpsons video, won't it? Where it's like sort of Mexico versus Chile or someone, and just no sort of quality. But I guess that might be a suggestion of how choosing that goes. I don't think it's going to be one for the purists anyway.
No, I mean, at the moment there is a bit of criticism from some sections regarding our strikers at the moment. Like we're definitely not free flowing with regard to goals. I mean, Tendai Darikwa scored 2 yesterday. He's a right wing back, so it's the strikers aren't maybe firing on as many cylinders as they'd like to be. And then, like I said, with the central defensive issues as well, it's going to be a tough game. But I mean, there was a name that you mentioned there that brought a smile to my face for one reason, and one reason alone, and that's Ollie Palmer. Like, obviously, we do occasionally like to pick up on former imps if we can. In this instance, having watched Ollie Palmer at Lincoln, and then having seen the documentary, there's just a big disconnect in my head of like, that's not the same man, that's not the same Ollie Palmer, because he seems to be having a real impact. I mean, like you say, getting 5-6 goals a season, but having an impact in other areas. He's obviously been quite a key component in the setup there, hasn't he?
Absolutely, and he was the reason Paul Mullin clicked in non-league, and he still is the facilitator for why Paul Mullin became so good for Wrexham. Because the first 6 months under Phil Parkinson, we were not clueless, but we played this 3-5-2, but we didn't have the target man. And Ollie Palmer revolutionised Wrexham under Phil Parkinson. As soon as he signed in the January, I think maybe 2 days later, or maybe the same day, we played another former team of his, Grimsby. We won 1-0. He scores the only goal. And from that moment, everything clicked. Paul Mullin was having to drop deep, go out wide, work his bloody socks off to get the ball. And he was working so hard to get the ball that he was never in between the sticks when the chances came. He was well out of position, or he's knackered. As soon as Ollie Palmer signed, if I could click my fingers, which I never learned how to do, I would do that. Everything clicked. Ollie Palmer was there. He was the facilitator. He was putting in the hard yards. He was grafting. He was knocking the ball down. He was ensuring that the centre-backs were hustled, and he ensured that there was space on Mullin to operate in. He really made everything work. And even now, that's the case. Ollie Palmer has been our best striker in League One this season. Hands down, I'd say. He works so hard now, and I don't think he did when he first joined the club. And what the main concern is from Wrexham fans around Ollie Palmer is he was given a new contract this season to take him into the end of next season, which if you dream big, we could be a championship club. Every season we've written Ollie Palmer off. We said he's not good enough for League Two. He's not good enough for League One. I still, don't think he's the striker we necessarily want to build our team around in League One, particularly given his age now. But you can't fault him. He scored a great header against Exeter at the weekend. And every single game, he just works his socks off. He makes us a far better team than when we're without him. So I think all of his former clubs have been absolutely staggered, because we spoke to Mansfield podcasts, we've spoken to Grimsby podcasts, maybe even the Wimbledon podcast said the same. They've just all been shocked by this guy and how he's transformed into a really reliable and proven striker. And I think that is maybe the crux of it. Phil Parkinson trusts Ollie Palmer more than he trusts any other striker, I'd say. Other than Paul Mullin to score the goals, but Ollie Palmer, without him in the team, you really do miss him.
Okay, well, I mean, I think we have mixed memories of Ollie from his time at Central Bank. One that just sticks in my head. I can't remember the team. I can't remember who it was against, but he scored a goal late on in the game. Ran the entire length of the pitch, took his shirt off and celebrated as he was running down the touchline, and it was offside. So, that's one of the overriding memories of Ollie at Lincoln. But another player that we did briefly touch on off air was one that came to you guys directly from us in the form of James Jones. Sounds like he's maybe dropped out of favour a little bit at the moment.
Yeah, it's unfortunately for him, it's just been a case of the quality's got better around him. He was an integral part in both non-league seasons when he was there. He was just that guy. He was the extra man in midfield, the stereotypical engine room, the guy who does all the dirty work that you don't see. When he's missing, you really miss him, and that's when you appreciate him. So the first 2 non-league seasons, he was excellent. He obviously had the off-the-field struggles. I'm not sure if Lincoln fans are aware, but he was with his baby, etc. And that was during a game. He had to be rushed off to hospital to go see his wife and the baby. And really sad. If you watch the documentary, you really do realise that these are just normal people. And it's really hammers home, that these aren't footballer is a job title. They're not these superhuman people. League Two, he featured enough, and he again still had an important squad role. the issue is just we've gone up in quality again, and he's sort of been left behind. I think it does say a lot that Parky wanted to keep him around. He really appreciates his professionalism, and again, he's a player who's fully trusted. You know exactly what you're going to get from James Jones. But right now, it's a good position for us to be in, but he's just not really needed because we've got so many options in midfield.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? When you have a player that's bought into the project and bought into the kind of the club's way, I guess, and then it's if you move up that level, you've got to make the decision of, well, they're obviously a key part of the club, but are they going to be a key part of the team? And I think that's probably the distinction that's going to be made there. So, okay, well, I mean, we've obviously discussed how you guys tend to set up. We've discussed the home record. We've discussed some of the players that we're going to be up against. I almost don't want to do this because I know that we're in a bit of a dodgy situation at the minute. But go on, let's have a prediction for Tuesday night, and let's see how you expect us to come at you.
Like I said, I fully expect you to have 60% of the possession. I expect you to have a lot of the ball, whether you like it or not. I expect us to put lots of cross into the box. I expect us to go at it from the first whistle. I suppose bad news for you is I expect Wrexham to win. I did look at this trio of home games coming up of the Exeter game, yourselves and Barnsley. I'd still be surprised if we won all three. I do think there'll be drop points either against yourselves or Barnsley. Obviously, the quick turnover in games, this could be the one where both teams are a little off it. I think it's going to be a low quality, cold night in North Wales, but I expect Wrexham to win by a goal. I'd say 1-0 or 2-1, to be honest.
I'd probably say if there is going to be a win, it's going to be, like say, a single goal either way. I don't think it's going to be a free flowing game by any stretch of the imagination. I'm going to say exactly what I said going into the Wycombe game, and I would be absolutely delighted if we could come away with a point. I know it's going to be a really difficult ask, particularly, like I said, we've yet to hear from the manager about the injuries at centre back, but it seems like there might be a couple that, yeah, we might have to be some square pegs in round holes on Tuesday night. But I'm going to go with 1-1. It's out of hope more than expectation than anything else, I think, on that one. But look, Rich, thanks so much for joining me, mate. It's really appreciated. If you got 20 seconds or so to let us know where we can find you and give yourself a bit of a plug.
Yeah, so myself and Nathan Salt, we do a podcast, Rob Ryan Red. It's literally that on all the socials. We've just launched on Blue Sky as well. That's the one we're trying to grow. So any feedback, Blue Sky, any abuse, send it towards Nathan Salt because I will not be checking them. As long as Lincoln don't have Matt Reed playing up front on Tuesday night, I'm going to be feeling a lot more relaxed than our non-league days.
Oh, we do miss Reedy. What a player. But look, no, thank you again. Really appreciate it. And after Tuesday night, of course, all the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you. Yourselves too.
And until next time, guys, up the Imps.
Lincoln City are the team, the greatest is their name. Sincil Bank is their home ground and football is their game. So come and cheer them on, you lads, support them all the way. Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white, the Imps are here to stay. Oh,